On the island of Java, they call it Mount Semeru, the Great Mountain. For centuries, it has stood as a revered and sometimes feared giant, the highest peak on Indonesia's most crowded island. Its fertile slopes have offered life, drawing people into its shadow and creating a delicate balance between communities and the raw power of the earth. Since 1967, Semeru has been in a near-constant state of eruption, with a plume of smoke on the horizon becoming a familiar, almost permanent fixture. But what happened on November 19, 2025, was a violent and terrifying break from the norm. This is the story of an eruption that shattered the mountain's fragile peace, unleashing forces that had been building for months and pushing a community to its absolute limit. The day started like any other, but by midday, that calm was broken. A deep, guttural roar echoed from the summit, the sound of a giant waking up. Within hours, the sky would go dark, day would turn to night, and a river of fire and ash would start its unstoppable journey down the mountain. The alert level, which began at a cautionary level 2, was raised not just once, but twice, finally hitting a level 4 warning, the highest it can go, as authorities scrambled to respond to a disaster escalating by the minute. Mount Semeru, soaring 3,276 meters high, is one of Indonesia's most active and dangerous volcanoes. It's situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire, a volatile seam in the Earth's crust that fuels the region's frequent earthquakes and volcanic activity. Its history is written in layers of ash and lava, with dozens of eruptions recorded since 1818. The memory of December 2021 was still painfully fresh, an eruption that claimed at least 69 lives and buried entire villages in mud and debris. In the months leading up to November 2025, scientists at Indonesia's Center for Volcanology and Geological Hazard Mitigation, PVMBG, noticed the pressure building just below the surface. Seismic activity was high, a constant drumbeat of eruption and avalanche earthquakes signaling the mountain was growing restless. The first real signs of a major event began on the morning of November 19th. At 4:10 a.m., an eruption sent an ash column 500 meters into the sky. Two more followed shortly after 5 a.m. and 6 a.m., each one pushing the ash even higher. While not entirely unusual for Semeru, the frequency was worrying. By midday, things took a dramatic turn. A massive explosion ripped through the summit, unleashing a thick column of hot ash that climbed 2 kilometers into the air. At the same time, a much deadlier threat emerged: pyroclastic flows. These aren't slow-moving lava, they're superheated avalanches of ash, rock, and gas, moving at terrifying speeds down the volcano's sides. Videos shot from a distance captured a horrifying spectacle: a dense, grey torrent sweeping through the green valleys, showcasing nature's brutal power. A pyroclastic flow is one of the deadliest weapons in a volcano's arsenal. With temperatures that can hit 1,000 degrees Celsius and speeds over 160 kilometers per hour, they incinerate everything in their path. On November 19th, these flows began surging down Semeru's slopes, mostly funneling into the Besuk Kobokan River Valley, a known hazard zone. The first flows traveled up to 7 kilometers from the crater, immediately putting nearby villages in grave danger. As the eruption grew stronger throughout the afternoon, authorities issued a frantic series of warnings. The danger zone, first set at 5 kilometers, was quickly pushed to 8 kilometers. Eventually, the PVMBG issued its most dire warning, raising the alert to level 4, and extending the exclusion zone to 20 kilometers in the southeastern sector, directly in the path of the pyroclastic flows. For people living in villages like Supit Urang and Oro-Oro Ombo, it was a race against time. More than 300 people from the highest risk areas were rushed to government shelters. As the day wore on, the number of displaced people grew, eventually exceeding 1,000 as they fled with whatever they could grab. Roads became clogged with families on the run, their faces covered in a mix of volcanic dust and rain. The sky, choked by a 2-kilometer-high ash cloud, turned a dark, oppressive grey, blotting out the sun and blanketing everything in a thick coat of soot. Adding to the chaos, a second crisis was unfolding on the mountain itself. A group of 178 people, including climbers, guides, and porters, was stranded at the Ranu Kumbolo monitoring post. Though they were on the northern slope and away from the direct path of the deadly flows, the eruption had cut them off. They were forced to take shelter as ash rained down, while rescuers, battling the dangerous conditions, worked on a plan to get them to safety. By November 20th, the main eruption began to calm down, but the danger was far from over. The landscape was transformed into a scarred, grey moonscape. Valleys that were once lush and green were now choked with still warm volcanic material that had buried buildings and cut off roads. In the village of Supit Urang, dozens of residents who cautiously returned found their homes severely damaged, with some structures destroyed down to their foundations. The human cost was also becoming clear. While thankfully no deaths were reported in the initial hours, several people were hurt. In one harrowing incident, 2 people on a motorcycle crashed on a bridge when it was suddenly enveloped by the hot ash, leaving them with severe burns. Meanwhile, a new crisis was brewing in the crowded evacuation centers. Cramped conditions were leading to a rise in illnesses like fever and respiratory problems, hitting children and the elderly the hardest. Heavy rainfall on November the 20th brought another terrifying threat: lahars. This is a type of volcanic mudflow formed when rain mixes with fresh ash deposits. These lahars, as thick and dense as wet concrete, began surging down the Kura-Kobokan River, creating secondary steam eruptions as the water hit the hot pyroclastic material. These flows have the power to sweep away bridges and buildings, posing a risk long after the eruption itself has stopped. In the days that followed, rescue teams managed to safely evacuate all 178 climbers who had been stranded on the mountain. The focus then shifted to recovery and figuring out the full scale of the damage. The eruption was another brutal reminder of Semeru's power, an event that, while not as deadly as the 2021 disaster, reinforced the volcano's unpredictable and ever-present threat. The 2025 eruption of Mount Semeru was a story of incredible geological power and all-too-human vulnerability. It showed just how quickly a familiar landscape can turn into something alien and hostile. For the thousands of people who live in the shadow of the great mountain, life is an exercise in resilience, a constant negotiation with a force of nature that both gives and takes. The event, once again, highlighted the absolutely critical work of the scientists and disaster agencies who monitor the mountain's every move, working to give warnings that save lives. But it's also a powerful testament to the spirit of the communities on its slopes, who, despite the danger, continue to rebuild, adapt, and carry on. Semeru is quieter now, but the smoke that still drifts from its peak is a permanent reminder of the sleeping giant just beneath the surface, a power that demands both respect and humility. For more documentaries exploring our planet's most incredible natural events, make sure you subscribe to our channel. And if you want to learn more about the forces at play here, check out our next video on the science of pyroclastic flows.
This book is your beginner's guide to understanding Scripture. Find peace, build relationships, and discover purpose in today's world. Ready to decode the Bible? Find Bible Decoded available on Amazon now.
If this content blesses you and you'd like to support our mission, you can buy me a coffee or give a super thanks. Every contribution helps us create more content to inspire and uplift others. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on my future videos.